Hi everybody, this is Brian Kuh with another ROK video, and today we are going to cover the topic of discussion that is on everyone's mind lately, which is the decision to split up the four big Imperium kingdoms who all registered for the Warriors Unbound KvK together. For those who are unaware, kingdoms 1960, 2489, 1093 and 1307 all registered for Warriors Unbound together, hoping and expecting that they would be matched up on the same map and they could have a competitive, high-profile war. That did not happen, and two of the kingdoms were put together on one map, and the other two kingdoms were put in a separate map, and both of those KvKs were filled out with much smaller kingdoms that were put together in camps and who are going to have a very tough time competing with these very skilled, very serious, very well capitalized Imperium kingdoms. Now, at the beginning of the video, as I discussed this issue and why I think it was a mistake to split these kingdoms up, I'm going to assume that the makers of Rise of Kingdoms have the same goals that I have and that the community as a whole has, which is we want Rise of Kingdoms to be a successful game. We want people to spend money in the game, and we want it just to be as fun and interesting of a war game as possible. Now, later in the video, I'm also going to explore some conspiracy theories where perhaps those assumptions are not correct, and perhaps the reasons for this split up are not motivated by a desire for Rise of Kingdoms to be as successful as possible. So if you want to go straight to that juicy gossip, I've put a time code in the description and you can fast forward right to the meat on that bone. But at this point, let me say why I think it was a mistake to do the matchmaking in this strange way. And to put it very simply, big KvKs with strong Imperium kingdoms are the best that Rise of Kingdoms has to offer. It showcases the war game aspect of Rise of Kingdoms the best. It showcases the, endurance-based, multi-day wars that occur in ROK the best. And it brings the most eyeballs from the community and generates way more interest than anything else in ROK. Now, traditionally, what the publishers of ROK have done is they have focused their own content creation on the Osiris League. They stream the matches for the Osiris League on their official channel. They hire casters to commentate on those matches. And so they put some amount of production dollars and marketing dollars behind Osiris League. But I think ultimately that just fundamentally misunderstands what the community is most interested in. And if you look at the viewership numbers of Osiris League matches on ROK's official channel, they're generally getting 10 to 30,000 views per match over the last 18 months or so. In contrast, if you look at the most popular live streams for the big wars that have occurred in this game, you will see that Chisel Gaming's channel has gotten 75,000 to 100,000 views on some of his big wars. And even a Chinese YouTuber, Seawill, who is broadcasting in Chinese on a traditionally non-Chinese platform like YouTube, Seawill got 15 to 20k views on the recent war between 1960 and 1365. So just on views alone, I think it's very clear that the community is more interested in these big wars than they are in Osiris League. And I think it would be smart for Lilith to recognize that and put some of their production dollars, their marketing dollars, and their matchmaking thought process behind making these big Imperium KvKs something that's shown on their main channel, something that gets as much hype as possible, and something that occurs as often as possible. Because ultimately, it doesn't happen that many times in a year that 3 or 4 very big Imperiums all register for the exact same KvK. And so when they do, you really should make it happen, because it's literally what everybody wants. And I think I want to compare it to another game, World of Warcraft, which has been around for longer than ROK, but has actually gone through a very similar dynamic where the game developers think one thing is important, and the community tells those developers over and over that actually something else is more important. You know, for many years, Blizzard, who makes World of Warcraft, they have supported various 3 vs 3 arena tournaments. I know that at BlizzCon for many years, they would do a 3 vs 3 tournament. There's something called the Arena World Championships in Warcraft, where it's a, Blizzard supported tournament series where people just duel 3 vs 3 in Warcraft Arena. And that's been going on for many years. But what has also evolved in recent years is that there are these race for world first competitions when a new expansion is released, where all the biggest Warcraft guilds in the world will, race to see who completes all 9 bosses first. And these race to world firsts get huge numbers of views. They absolutely dwarf what 3 vs 3 tournaments in World of Warcraft have ever done. And yet, the race to world firsts are not supported by Blizzard. It's actually these Warcraft guilds who are creating the production budgets for these events. And in the most recent race for first, a controversy occurred due to the fact that Blizzard releases these updates on North American servers first, and then 12 hours later, they release the patch on the European servers. And in the latest competition, a North American team, Team Liquid, was the first guild to beat the 9 bosses. But a European guild, Echo Esports, beat the 9 bosses less than 12 hours after Liquid did it. And so there's an open debate about which guild actually won the speedrun. And, whereas in the Arena World Championships in Blizzards, they have a separate tournament realm to make things balanced and fair, Blizzard has never created a tournament realm for the race for world firsts. And I think this is just a fundamental misunderstanding by a game developer about what is best about their game and what galvanizes a community the most. And I think it's relevant for ROK for a couple reasons. Number one, World of Warcraft has been around for a very long time. It's been a popular game now for about 18 years. And I would argue that Rise of Kingdoms has the potential to be a game that lasts for another 10 years from now. I think that's entirely possible. It is the strongest game in a growing genre of games that we could call massively multiplayer war games, or we could call them kingdom builders. Whatever you want to call them, Rise of Kingdoms is the most popular and the best game in that genre. And it will be pretty difficult for another game to topple ROK for the simple fact that ROK does not monetize its player base quite as efficiently as other kingdom builders would hope to do. ROK has barb chaining and also fort rallies that allows people to get a lot of free stuff in the game if they put in the time. And the just basic mechanics of ROK are such that free-to-play players can be successful during KvKs. The other reason why I think the comparison to Warcraft is important is because Blizzard is a company that once had a very strong position in the gaming world, but they have made numerous mistakes in recent years that has caused the brand to suffer and has also caused the player retention numbers in their games to suffer. Overwatch is not as popular as it once was. World of Warcraft, as far as I can tell, is not as popular as it once was. And so the longevity of these games that have lasted for a very long time, they are always at the mercy of how well or how poorly the game developer stewards those games going forward. A game like World of Warcraft has not been maintained optimally by its developers, and the popularity of it has suffered. On the other hand, you have a game developer like Valve, which makes games like Dota 2 and Valorant, and at this point, they have... Actually, I'm sorry. I'm confusing a few things. Valve makes Dota 2 and Counter-Strike Go. Riot Games makes League of Legends and Valorant. And I think these are two companies who have largely made good decisions. They have not made decisions that upset the community and hurt the game as much as Blizzard has. And so you're seeing games like Valorant and CSGO in the shooter world, or MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota 2, they have really had a staying power that is quite impressive. I mean, League of Legends has been one of the biggest games in the world for more than 12 years now, and it shows no signs of slowing down. And so game developers can make good decisions over and over and over again that gives their game longevity. Or they can make decisions that are obvious mistakes and it hurts their game going forward. And I think we're really in that question mark period with Lilith Games and Lego Games, where we are looking really hard to see, are they going to be a steward of Rise of Kingdoms in a way that sets it up to be a very long-term successful game? Or is it the case that their business model prioritizes different things? They're not prioritizing ROK being this game that lasts for years and years and years and slowly and steadily generates revenue for them. Maybe they want to keep making new games and monetize those games in a way that does as well or better than what they would make from just Rise of Kingdoms. Which brings us to the conspiracy theory portion of this video. And I do want to give credit to the YouTube content creator Lambo, who was the first person to put out this particular conspiracy theory. And it basically speculates that because the ROK developer Lego Games is partnering with another company, Farlight Games, on a new kingdom builder called Call of Dragons, there has been an effort to suppress the attention that ROK is getting in favor of that attention being pushed towards Call of Dragons. And so one thing that has happened in recent months is that the biggest content creator in this space, Chisgel Gaming, has started making ROK videos and Call of Dragons videos. And his kingdom in ROK, 1254, received Match Not Found on multiple KvK registrations in a row, including the recent Siege of Orleans pop, where 1254 did work with other big kingdoms to all register together, and they expected to be in the same KvK, but 1254 got a Match Not Found instead, which allowed, or actually forced, someone like Chisgel to focus on the launch of Call of Dragons and on those early wars in Call of Dragons. And the timing has worked out quite conveniently for Call of Dragons in that Chisgel has finished up his entire first war in COD and is just now going to be shifting towards a big war in 1254. And the same thing, or the same thought process, could have occurred in splitting up these 4 big Imperiums. Instead of making a very big KvK that's going to bring a lot of attention and a lot of enthusiasm towards Rise of Kingdoms, they can keep ROK at a more medium, semi-boring level with 2 rather boring KvK matchups, and hope that some of those eyeballs go in the direction of Call of Dragons instead. Look, I think as conspiracy theories go, this is a pretty good one. It does make some business sense for the company to want to promote Call of Dragons, which is their newer game. And I think that conspiracy theories flourish when official narratives don't make much sense, or in this case, official narratives simply don't exist. Because Lilith has never explained the reasoning for various controversial matchmaking decisions, and there has been no explanation of this one. And that's what I think would be most beneficial to the community, is just explain why these kingdoms were split up into separate KvKs. You know, we don't even know who is making the matchmaking decisions. Is it Lego Games or is it Lilith? My understanding is that Lego Games is the company that writes the code for Rise of Kingdoms, while Lilith is more of the marketing and customer service arm of ROK. And I would imagine that the people who code the game are the people who create balance in the game. And Rise of Kingdoms has always been a very balanced game. With the exception of when Attila Takeda was released, the Zenobia Garrison, and the Amanatori Garrison. Other than that, the game has always been quite balanced. The commanders have been balanced, and the game has also been balanced in terms of monetary investment versus time investment, or monetary investment versus skill. So that balance has always been good, but the matchmaking balance has always been questionable. And the reasons for matchmaking have never been explained, and so kingdom leaders are forced to go into private discords and plan out KvK registrations themselves, and then hope that we get the match that we wanted. And sometimes we do, but it also happens quite frequently that we are surprised and disappointed by where kingdoms end up. So just give us an explanation for why matchmaking is being done as it is, and let us know which company is making the matchmaking decisions. Because if we find out that it's Lego that's writing the code for the game, and it's Lilith that's making the KvK matchups, then that really takes all the steam out of the conspiracy theory, because Lilith Games has no reason to promote Call of Dragons since they're not associated with that game. And so if Lilith said, yes, we're doing the matchmaking, and we split these kingdoms up because Warriors Unbound is still in the pioneer testing phase, and we were just not confident that the servers could handle 4 Imperiums on the same map with lots of people watching it. I mean, you just come out with an announcement like that, and everyone would kind of just shrug our shoulders and be like, well, that's kind of boring, but at least we know what the heck's going on. But in the absence of those explanations, our imaginations run wild, and conspiracy theories start to make sense. So I do apologize if I've said 1 or 2 things incorrectly in this video, but it doesn't matter anyway, because we're living in a simulation, and the robot overlords will fix my mistakes in post-production. Please throw a like on the video if you enjoy the simulation that we're in. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more about the robot overlords in the future. And as long as the sim doesn't suck me into a wormhole overnight, I will see you all on the flip side.